Hey, what's going on everyone? This is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. So, why does God leave you? So you can find your own power. Now, just so you know, God doesn't actually leave you, but He does take more than a few steps back. He gives you your own space to develop, to grow, and literally find your own power. You want to know what the biggest challenge, if I could say this is the number one challenge of an empath or a light worker or a spiritual being, is overcoming doubt. So there's something that my pastor taught me. He said to me repeatedly, this is Pastor Rex in Mountain View, every now and then he would just kind of look at me. It's like, you know, one thing I learned, Michael, to stay out of other people's battles. I go, what do you mean? He goes, you have to learn not to get in between God and someone's spiritual growth and someone's spiritual development, spiritual learning. You have to step out. Here's what I mean. Let's say someone is now, and I'm going to say this word on purpose, in your opinion. Oh, they need help. Oh, they need to be fixed. Oh, you know, whatever. Now, you may or may not be right, but this is your opinion. Now, let's say you have called out to them. You have offered help. You have said, hey, I'm trying to save you, or hey, you got to look out for this. And they're not responding. They're just like, yeah, whatever, or leave me alone, or back off. Clearly, you have been told by the High One, hey, man, get out of this space. This is not for you. This is their own battle. God will purposely put you into arenas, into spaces, into groups for a reason. He wants you to learn, grow, and develop and become stronger and smarter and develop better techniques, etc. Because on this journey, for them specifically, maybe not you, maybe not your neighbor, maybe not the guy down the street, but they are here to have this specific experience. If you get in the way, you will default, incomplete, and stop their learning. It was the reason that they came here. There's a couple things that they needed to learn, to develop, and increase their skill at. And if you get in between that, you're the one who's being the bad person. So if you've offered help, you've begged them to get out of a situation, you have, I don't know, yelled and screamed or whatever, and they're like, no, I am telling you, beyond a shadow of a doubt, beyond any question, this is something that they need to learn the hard way. And that's fine. We all need to learn stuff, and a lot of times it's the hard way because we didn't learn yet. Doesn't mean you're dumb or they're dumb or stupid or anything at all. It just means like this is what it takes for this person to finally, and this is really the key word, it's beyond learning, it's overcome. You're crippling them if you keep getting in the way. You have to let go. It's like a little infant child. So they're about 7-8 months and they keep trying to stand up and they fall over and they stand up and they fall over. And at the 9th month, you're like, no, that's it. I don't want to see my baby fall over because he keeps crying, he keeps getting hurt, and I don't want my baby to get hurt. I don't want my child to learn the hard way. So you literally crippled your child for life. This child will never walk, ever. Till the day this child dies, will never walk because you stopped their growth. Now, if you've had children, you know how hard this is. You know how hard it is when they're going through hard times.
Everything is beautiful.
You want to save them, but there's a time to let go. Sure, when they're a child and they're getting bullied, you go to the principal, you go to the police. You lead by your actions. They watch you. They've been watching you the whole time. That's what children do. Our first stage between birth and about 6.5, 7 years old is the imprinting stage. We imprint off of you. So your children are looking at you, literally recording a video and audio. They're just copying. It's copy, 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 copy. And then they get to the stage where they have to start watching, okay, how do we deal with social behavior? How do we deal with other people? Like, how do we develop this? And they're watching you again. Oh, someone at school does this bad to you. You don't go and beat them up. You don't go and do some bad thing. No, you go to their teacher. If that doesn't work, you go to the principal. If that doesn't work, see, you go up the chain of command. Then you go to the police. If that doesn't work, you go get a lawyer. So not only are they watching those, call it physical, external actions, they're watching the way that you do it emotionally. Are you grounded? Are you dramatizing? Are you yelling and screaming? Are you forcing, the principal to listen to you? Or are you having a calm, down-to-earth, grounded, open interaction? Are you creating a space where the principal will actually enjoy being in the conversation and is much more willing to listen to you? Or did you go charging in an angry, forceful manner? You're going to listen to me, blah, 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 meaning you're actually an immature person and you're not confident enough to just have a sit-down conversation. See, you can create a very open, comfortable environment and still be assertive in a way that you're not pushing that person, in a way that they can feel comfortable receiving the information. And that's what your children are looking at also, even if they're not conscious of it. Children tend to just copy what you do, and then they get past 7 years old, and okay, now I'm taking on my social beliefs, and okay, what do we believe, what's right, what's wrong? They're copying you. And about their teenage years, you're going to kind of have to let them fight some of their battles. And especially when they're children in elementary, middle school, if it gets really bad, like they're getting beat up or something like that, you step in and say, hey, this is like over the line. But, you can let them have little skirmishes at football practice or soccer practice. And you got to let them begin to stand up for themselves. Yeah, there's times when like, hey, this is too much. He's just 8 years old. And you step in. But you don't want to overly coddle them. See, believe it or not, some of us, now, okay, I'm going to say this. We did not all come to the planet for the same exact reason. Some of us came to heal our energy. Some of us here came to do a very specific job to help the planet, such as being a judge or a lawyer or whatever. Some of us here came here because there are certain just life skills, interactive skills that we don't have, we don't understand, and we're here to learn to begin to develop those and grow and develop that form of personal power. And if you're constantly trying to take charge of them and take charge of their situations, it's not going to help them. Now, if you come at it all dramatic and emotional, they're just going to block you out. So this is why I tell people, you may not be able to work on them, but you can work on yourself, and that is what will shift the whole dynamic. For some of us, this is why we're here. This is what we're learning. And we're also learning to let go, to realize this is their experience. This is why they are here, to go through this. I learned this a long time ago. I don't remember if I learned in high school or college psychology or what, and I've even seen a video on TV a long time ago. And so there's certain African tribes where when a young man becomes what they call an adult, and I think it's 13 age, I think each tribe is different, but it's around 13, 14, 15 years old. So while they're growing up, eventually, when they're about 4 or 5 years old, they start hanging out with their dad. They go to work with their dad. They go hunting with their dad. But they slowly start spending more time with their father. They learn how to make rope. They learn how to tie knots. They learn how to hunt. They learn how to make a fire pit. They learn how to stay safe, how to, be wary of predators and how, et cetera. So there's a series of, I'm going to call, life skills in order to survive and succeed in life. And until you learn these skills, you're not considered adult in the tribe, and therefore you're treated like a child, and you are not respected like an adult. So here's what happens. the kid has mastered this. He's a great hunter. He's great at tying things. He's great at doing this, fishing, hunting, making fires, shelter, protecting himself and his family from, dangerous animals, etc., etc. So then comes a time when they gather up all the kids that are at a certain age and that they believe are qualified. And they gather them together and say, hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take you far out into the wilderness. And we're going to put you out there all alone. And you have to survive for, I don't know if it's a week or 21 days, or I don't know how long. It could be 5 days. But you're going to have to survive. You're going to have to keep yourself alive, defend yourself against dangerous animals, etc., etc. So why does God leave you? That really is the question. So they take this young teenage, at this point we can still call him a boy because he hasn't physically, literally graduated to becoming considered an adult in the tribe. They take, his father will take, maybe even an uncle or two, will take him far out into the wilderness and he'll say, this is where you're going to camp, this is where you're going to be, good luck, we're going back to our homes, wherever we live, the village. So this young man is out there with a couple sharpened stones, sticks, spears, maybe a knife, or maybe he has to make them while he's out there. I'm not quite sure how they do that. So he watches his father and a few of his uncles and maybe older brothers walk away, and he watches them go miles and miles and they're literally leaving me, and they're gone. Little does he know, they're not actually gone. They literally come back around about 1.5 miles to 2 miles away, and they're watching him. So if a lion or tiger or whatever, attacks them, they can come running in to save them. The problem with a lot of empaths, you just think so if anything happens, a little red ant bites me and I cry, no, they're not going to come running for a little red ant. And if you can't catch any food for 2 or 3 days and you're starving, they're not going to come running in either, because it's you can go without food for 14 days easily. So it's like kids when they first learn to play football. They're going to get hit. It's called football for a reason. If you want to play, you're going to have to toughen up. So there's that mother and maybe father watching their son get knocked on his ass, in pee-wee football or, whatever, 9th grade high school football. It's hey, this is you're going to have to understand. You're going to have to learn how to protect yourself. In football, if you don't know, there's certain ways you hit, certain ways you lower yourself, certain ways you carry, you've got to learn and do this, or you're going to get hurt even worse. And your muscles and your tendons and your ligaments physically become stronger. Your body begins to shift the way it grows and the way it heals and does all of this stuff. You go through a transformation. If you played football at least on the 10th, 11th, 12th grade level, you have changed. From when you were in 8th grade, your body is different. I don't care if you want to do like Lance Armstrong and be a road bike champion. Your body is going to change over time. Whether it's golf, football, baseball, or even becoming a lawyer, your mentality, your demeanor begins to shift. You're not the same person when you were in 7th grade. It's tough. It's even learning to become a lawyer. Do you realize the hell they have to go through, the challenges they have to overcome, their own peers challenging them and trying to push them out because everyone's battling to get to get the degree, to get the position in the law firm. Life's not easy, and you've got to stop thinking that. And I think that's one of the biggest false illusions when it comes to spiritual people or empaths. Oh, well, I'm just a nice person. Why? Who taught you that? The narcissist did. I'm not saying just go around being mean for no reason at all like a narcissist. I am saying if someone's mean to you, you have every right to be affirmative, to be assertive, to stand up for yourself, to do what you have to do. There's a lady that made a video on YouTube, and I watched the first 5 minutes, but it was essentially about how Christians have been lied to, how they've been, I don't remember the word, I don't think it was manipulated, but brainwashed, conditioned, I think was the word, to be these weak, soft, mushy pushovers. That's not what Jesus taught. There's a phrase in the Bible that says the meek shall inherit the earth. That is a completely misunderstood word. Most people think the word meek means weak and cowardly. No, it means strong and quiet. See, strong people, they don't have to brag. They don't have to bark, 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 bark. That's what narcissists do. They bark and they bark and they bark and they bark and they bark, and they're trying to force people to get us to believe them or be afraid of them or whatever. Okay. When I was ranked number 1 in the nation in kickboxing back in the mid-90s, our coach, Jacob Stitz Duran, he took me and one of my sparring partners, and we went to the, what do you call that? The city, it's where the business group gets together. Not the city council, not that. It's like the Chamber of Commerce. So we had a meeting, and there was probably about 30 people there, maybe 40. And Jacob had brought our pads, and he brought the wraps, where they wrap your hands before you put the gloves on, etc. He wrapped my hand to show him, like, hey, here's how we wrap your hand. We do it so they don't break their fist when they punch someone, etc., etc. And people go, okay, this is cool, because what was happening, our school was taking off. We were undefeated for 2 years in the United States at kickboxing, and it was a pretty impressive feat at the time. Like, no one had ever done that. So we were getting notoriety, and they had called us in, like, hey, come and do like a little demonstration and stuff. And so here I am, this quiet little kid, 24, 25 years old, and just really peaceful and quiet and stuff, and unassuming would probably be the word. And then Jacob goes, okay, hey, Mikey, come on up. And so I had my Muay Thai shorts on and shirt, etc., that we trained in. And I start kicking the pads. He's holding pad, boom, boom, and they're like, oh, like the whole, like, whoa. And when we sat down, Jacob started talking again, and one of the members raised his hand, and Jacob said, yeah. He goes, in a million years, I never would have thought that kid could do that. And Jacob said, yeah. He goes, most of our fighters are the nicest people in the world. He goes, my whole life I've been around fighters. I've trained fighters for decades. He goes, they're the sweetest, kindest people in the world. And everyone says the same thing, like, wow, like they're like the nicest person. I would never would have thought that they were that powerful, or that they even trained in kickboxing, let alone were that good. So I used to work out at Gold's Gym. I was lifting weights, but I was also kicking the Muay Thai bags there. And there was this big, big black guy coming out of the bathroom. He bullied me over, and I'm just like, geez, man. I'm looking at this dude, like this guy. Now I'm 5'9". At the time, I was probably about 175 pounds. This was a big dude, and I mean big dude, and he was strong. And I remember looking at him like, man, you have no idea who you're messing with. So I was pissed off. I was bench pressed, and I was like, fuck this. So I went over to the Muay Thai bag, and I started just kicking this shit. And I was like, boom, boom. And then I asked someone I knew, I said, hey, man, can you hold pads for me? Because I was really trying to get the message across to the student. The whole gym just stopped. The whole gym. There's probably 100 plus people, and they're all looking like, holy shit. And I'm banging on that bag really hard, and I'm looking at him like, fuck you. Now, you got to understand, this guy was 6'4", at least. He was about 330, 40 pounds. This was a big, muscular dude. I was benching about 365 at the time, squatting 595 for 2 reps, deadlifting over 6 plates per side. Doing reps with it. I was really at my peak of my peak of my peak, and fighting, lifting, strength, everything. And I remember looking at this guy like, yeah, you might be bigger than me, but I'll destroy you. So I'm walking out the front door when I'm done. I kind of forgot about this guy at this point, because I went back to lifting weights, finished my chest workout, and he kind of catches me at the door. I'm just walking out. He goes, hey, man. I'm like, oh, hey, what's up, man? And I'm thinking the guy's going to fuck with me. I'm looking at him like, man, it's on, dude. He goes, hey, man, I'm really so sorry, because he had done this it wasn't just one time. He'd done this continually to me. He goes, hey, man, my name's so-and-so. He goes, I used to be an offensive lineman for the Oakland Raiders. I'm like, you look like you're only about 32, 34 years old. He goes, yeah. He goes, I just retired. I was like, oh, okay. And he goes, dude, I'm so sorry. He goes, I had no idea that you were like that. He goes, someone in the gym said, don't fuck with that guy. Because he started telling people how he was pushing me around. So we actually made friends. That actually ended up being a kind of cool conversation, because I used to play football. When you play on that level in the NFL, that's pretty incredible. So my overall message is this. I was a really strong guy, real powerful, very trained. But I didn't walk around like that. Because here's the deal. He was doing roids. I wasn't. So I wasn't all puffed up. But he knew how much I benched. In fact, I think that's why he was pissed off. It was because I was a lot smaller than him. But he was only benching about 40 pounds more than me at most. So when the Bible says the meek shall inherit the earth, do not think that means the weak, because it does not. That literally is a false definition, and most Christians think it's the weak. It means the strong, the really strong, the badass, and the quiet. You came here to develop and grow and to become stronger and smarter and more aware. But if you don't step into the ring and take your punches, you're never going to believe in yourself. That's why God takes a step back. That's why God lets you suffer through your journey, parts of your journey here and there, and then does it again. You get stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. I never would have been able to bench press 365 pounds for 2 full reps without hitting the weights. It's not easy. In the very beginning, it burns and it hurts you. Like, I don't ever want to do that again. It's like the worst pain in the world until your body starts getting used to it. You start getting tough. I have been through some of the most horrendous journeys on the planet. I mean, just nightmare. Like, and I would look at God, like, why aren't you doing something? Why won't you help me? Because I wouldn't be as strong as I am now. I tell you what, this last experience I had. Now, I just made a video before this about dealing with the police and all that stuff. For the first time in my life, I had no doubt. And even after the interaction last night, I was just like, oh my God, I finally believe it. Because normally, empaths we're so beaten down. We are so told that you're wrong. Even when you're on video, when they're completely wrong, they'll even admit that they're wrong. Well, yeah, but it was your fault because you wore pink shoelaces. I mean, they will twist things like you will not believe. But you come to a point where you have no doubt, where suddenly, for the first time in your life, it's gone. It has taken me my entire life to get to this point where like wow, so this is what it's like knowing that what you're doing is the right thing versus, am I sure? I don't know. I mean, they said I was wrong. They said, okay, there was this lady that just flat out hit my car's parked. It was this was years ago. It was in my parking spot, literally in my parking spot. She slams into it and she jumps out and she blames me that, why is your car parked there? It's your fault. And I'm thinking, what the So she gets out of the car and she says, that's all your fault. I'm like, how is it my fault? What are you talking about? She goes, well, it shouldn't have been parked there. I'm like, it's my parking spot. She goes, well, it's still your fault. I go, how do you figure? She pulls these, when you get eye surgery, you get them really dark sunglasses, the plastic things, and it even blocks out the side. Well, she takes them off and she pulls her eyelid, the bottom eyelids down on both her eyes. She goes, I just had eye surgery. I think it was 2 days ago. And she says, I'm not supposed to be driving for 45 days because of my eye surgery. And therefore, it's all your fault. And she refused to give me her license and insurance information and walked away. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I went upstairs and I called my insurance agent. I'm like, well, can we put it on my insurance? And she goes, Michael, you're about to commit insurance fraud. You can go to prison for that. I'm like, well, isn't it kind of my fault? The lady's like, no. Was it stationary? I'm like, yeah. She goes, were you in the car? I'm like, no. She goes, was it running? I said, no. She goes, were the keys in your pocket? I'm like, well, yeah. She goes, no, it's not your fault. I was about 30 years old or 31 years old when this happened. I was not a confident person. I had so much doubt about anything that if someone said, well, even though I did it, it's your fault, take responsibility. That's what I did. So she goes, I'm calling the police. If you don't call the police right now, she goes, I'm going to call the police and have them deal with her. So I ended up calling the police. I said, no, I'll take care of it. And the cop comes to my door and goes, what happened? And I explained it to him. Now, when I told him that she had said it's my fault because she had eye surgery and she showed me her stitches in the bottom of her eyes and that she's not supposed to be driving for 45 days, he kind of almost didn't hear it. It went right past him. He kind of looked like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever, man. And he knocks on her door. She lived right across the hall from me, by the way. And he comes back over 5 minutes later and he goes, you're not going to believe what she said to me. I'm like, what's that? She said it's your fault because she had eye surgery and she's not supposed to be driving for 45 days. And then she pulls her eyelids down and shows me the stitches to prove to me that she had eye surgery and therefore it's your fault. And I'm kind of looking at him like, oh, okay, well, I guess it's my fault. And he goes, it's not your fault. I go, what do you mean? Now he's looking at me, and he was an elder, not old, he was about 55, but he was a veteran. He looked at me like, what, are you stupid? So he said, look, here's the law. Let's say you pull up to the street light right here. I'm like, yeah, at the 4-way corner. I'm like, yeah. He goes, let's say you stop and your car's a complete stop. Okay, you got the parking brake on. I'm like, okay. Let's say you open the door and get out of your car in the middle of the street during the day when there's traffic. I'm like, okay. He goes, if somebody hits your car, it's their fault, even if you open the door in traffic. I'm like, are you serious? He goes, yes. He goes, you are not at fault at all. Here's your insurance information. Here's your driver's license information. Call your insurance, and they're going to call her insurance. So why did the tribesmen, why did the father, the uncles, the brothers, the older brothers, why did they step back away? Why did they pull so far back away that the younger one, the teenager, didn't know that they were even there? Is because they wanted him to go through his own trials and tribulation to prove to himself that he could survive, so he could truly believe in himself. That's what this is all about. If you are coddled, if people carry you for the rest of your life, you never learn how to walk, you'll never believe in yourself. You can egotistically believe in yourself and false and fake believe in but until you really, really, really believe in yourself, it doesn't matter. So yes, does God leave you in trials and tribulations? Does God set you into trials and tribulations? Yes. Does God send you into a sink or swim situation? Eventually? Absolutely yes. Narcissists will kill you if they truly believe they can get away with it. They will try to poison you. They will drug you. They will do all kinds of things. These are the nasty of the nasties. These are the demons that the Bible warns you about. They will lie, cheat, manipulate. They will make false promises. Oh, I'm changed. I'm different. Oh, I'm not like that anymore. They will tell you anything to get away with hurting you, with destroying you. But if you can make it through that baptismal, through that fire, you are going to come out learning and learning and learning. And the more you learn, the more you grow. Like there was a guy recently that said, well, is there any way to bring back the goodness in her? And I'm like, wait, you said she was a narcissist? Are you sure? Because they're not good. And she was, no, she was a very loving person. I'm like, then she probably wasn't a narcissist. No, she's a narcissist. I'm like, yeah, you've been bamboozled. That's called love bombing. It was fake. It was a how do you say, fazali. It's not real. It's dust. It's air. It's fake. I think it's fugazi. I think that's the word I'm looking for. So here's the deal. God's kind of like that cop looking at me like, are you serious? Are you like you're being an idiot? Like it's all her fault. Like what do you? In other words, God's looking at like you know that this person's hurt you. You know what choice you need to make. The question is, are you going to make it? Do you want to know why God put you in those situations? Because God absolutely knows that you can make it out by yourself. And you need to do it by yourself because that's the only way you will finally discover how powerful you truly are. Most of you have not tapped into 1% of your power. I'm telling you, you haven't. But once you do, you will finally understand what it means to believe in yourself. When I got ran over by a car, I had severe injuries, spinal, neck, back injuries. I broke over 24 bones, my ribs on both sides, my sternum, and the left shoulder. I mean, I was messed up bad. And I woke up in the middle of the road being like, where am I? I had no idea where I was at. I didn't know why my pillow was wet. Well, it wasn't a pillow, it was called the cement, and it was called blood. I started looking around, and I'm in this neighborhood, and I recognized it, and it was a beautiful sunny day, and nobody would help me. Cars went by about every 5 to 15 minutes, one car at a time. They'd stop, they'd look. Most of them took pictures for their Instagram page, by the way, and they took off. This went on for at least 2 hours, maybe more. Nobody called 911. I was like 6 blocks from the police department and the fire department. I remember I cried out to the last 2 mothers with their teenage daughters, 2 different cars, 2 different times, because I realized, like, I have to beg them for help. And I begged, please call 911, please. And I cried out, and boom, the first one she hit the gas. She took off. Didn't have nothing to do with that situation. The second one did the same thing while her daughter was taking a picture. I realized right then and there, somehow I'm going to have to get up and get myself help. It was on me. And I'm going to tell you something in that moment changed my entire life. The realization that this is on me, that I have to do this, it changed my whole mentality. It changed everything in a positive way. I looked across the street and I was like, I have got to get to that door. I've got to get their attention. I struggled to stand up, and I got just to my feet. And I collapsed. The blood rushed up to my head, and I was out cold. And I remember falling and banging my head on the ground again. I was out cold. But that, even though I failed, that decision to get up against the worst situation in my life changed everything. I'm going to do it. If it's going to happen, I'm going to do it. It's up to me. It's like, for the first time in my life, it's all on me. My attitude towards humans has been radically different. I don't expect help from anybody at all. I've got to figure it out. Beyond a shot of a doubt, the most empowering experience I ever had in my life, and it didn't end there. I remember the hospital sent me home. I was in bed. Nobody came and helped. I had a list of people on my hospital list. Nobody showed up. I had to do every single thing on my own. Thank God I went through the worst experience of my life, and somehow I made it through. Thank God. You don't understand, when I was trying to get out of bed, I had no food for about 3 weeks. I had to go to the grocery store on my own. It's about 4 blocks away, 3.5. Took me 45 minutes to an hour to get there. I'm not kidding. And it took me even longer to get back. Life was an absolute complete struggle. I had nobody. You know what it did for me? It was like, I have absolutely nothing to lose now. I have nothing to lose. There's a freedom in that you can't believe. When narcissists F with me now, when they start playing the feel sorry for me game or the guilt trip game, I walk away. I don't care. They're not paying my bills. They're not helping me up when I'm down. They're only trying to knock me. I don't care. I don't care. There is... You know, if you learn these lessons, there is massive freedom and massive power in all of this. That accident was the greatest gift God ever could have gave me. The narcissist abuse I went through, I admit, it took a long time for me to learn. A long time. It really did. You want to know what one of the most recent things that I've finally gotten through? Doubt. I had doubt about everything. I just always believed I was wrong, and I never ever believed I was right. This time around, though, I'm like, wow, this is different. I know I'm right. There's no question about it. It's not a logical thing. It's a heart thing. It's an in my body thing. Boom, no, this is right. This is true. This is what's going on. I have evidence. I have proof. And there's certainty in it, because it is. One of the biggest things that you're going to have to work through in life is doubt. And the only way you're going to get through it is by walking through the fire. By going through the football practice, by getting knocked on your ass, by failing and failing and failing, and getting back up each and every time, regardless of how bad it is. Even if you get ran over by a car going 40 miles an hour, you break your head, you break your neck, you break your back, you break 24 bones in your body, you have internal organ damage, and you still fight to get back up. Keep fighting. For some of you, you've got to fight back. You've got to start fighting back. You've got to start taking action. You're going to get better at each and everything you do as long as you continue to do it. I've had to deal with the police so many times in my lifetime that I'm kind of getting a hang of it. Like, okay, like I understand the court system now. I understand how the system works. Like, I understand what you got to do next. Like, you're going to stumble. You're going to bumble. You're going to crash. You're not going to hit a grand slam first time up to bat. It doesn't work that way. Because if it did, you wouldn't develop any level of strength and being resilient. And a lot of it has to do with being resilient. You get knocked down 100 times, you get up 100 times. You get knocked down 101 times, you get up 101 times, and you go back at it 10 times harder than you did before each time. The one notion you have to throw out the window, you have got to get rid of this notion that life is supposed to be easy. You've got to throw that in the trash. Now, I'm not saying you should go looking to make life hard, that you should go looking to make things more difficult. No, I'm just saying, do not think that it's always supposed to be this smooth flowing ocean. There's going to be storms, there's going to be hurricanes, there's going to be moments of chaos and etc. You deal with it head on the best you can. You learn how to master life, just like a martial art. The reason why you study martial arts and you work hard at it is so if you do get in a fight, you're a lot better than your opponent. At the very least, you're a lot better than you used to be, so you can deal with it a lot better. The reason why life is hard is because you haven't learned the lessons that you're supposed to learn. When you learn these lessons, you're like, oh, okay, I see what I was doing wrong. And all of a sudden, boom, now you know how to deal with that a lot easier. So things become easier as you develop and grow. And like in martial arts, the more you develop your techniques, the better you get at it, the easier it is to win. So, number one, don't get involved in other people's battles. You can be there for them if they come to you for support, if they ask you, but you've got to do it from a grounded space. So the number one thing you're going to have to work on, you have to work on becoming an emotionally grounded person, because essentially otherwise you're kind of useless to people. So that young tribesman, that young boy, that young teenager, he survives, he lives, he hunts, he kills, he builds a fire, builds a shelter, and after a certain period of time they all come out. The whole tribe comes out and congratulates him. It is a huge celebration. When I stood up from that car accident, like, you got to understand, if you were there, you'd be like, how did you, like, even the doctor said, how did you stand up? I'm like, I don't know. Everything, my whole system was messed up. Let me tell you something. The angels cheered. So they come out, and the father pulls out I'm going to call it a split knife, because it's not like normal knives. It's split in the middle and the sharpness is in the middle. And the son is proudly waiting for this. The elders, the tribesmen, hold him in place. And what they do is they take his big toe and they take this knife, and the father has to jam it down so it cuts him on both sides of the big toe. All the tribesmen, all the elders, everyone shouts in joy. The father cries. And the pride that shoots through that young man's body overcomes the pain. He doesn't even care about the pain. He is so happy because now he is respected as an adult in the tribe. That's why you're here. This is a master class. It's not easy. It wasn't supposed to be easy. And that's what you have got to finally understand. You chose to be on this journey, and it was going to be hard. You knew coming in you were going to get your ass kicked. But when you came out on the other end of the spectrum, you were going to get your master's degree. So why did you come here? Why did God leave you? So you can find your own power. I'm Mike Kollin, you're awesome, and God kicks ass. Remember, fight back. Start leaning into yourself. Start looking to yourself and get determined. You can get stronger. Just keep going. God bless you guys. I hope this video helped you. If you like this video, please consider subscribing. Click the like button, go ahead and make a comment, and if you feel comfortable, go ahead and leave a donation. There's a PayPal link right there in the description box. And remember, everything that I teach, I can coach you through. I'm an NLP trainer, master hypnotherapist, master practitioner of timeline therapy, Reiki, Huna, Pranic healing, blah, blah, like a ton of stuff. God bless you guys. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.